I'm sure will inspire you to pick up yourself and go. You will find it's all you need to do. Reach down inside and find out you're the one to fly, yeah, the one to read, yeah. You can do all things, just choose it.
Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Come on in. Come on in. I am going to ask you to please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I am so excited for the entire month of May is National Foster Care Month. We are celebrating it here on the Denise Newsom Show. Please help me welcome a very special guest, Arthur Black Diamond, my co-host for the month. Come on, if you're watching, give us some likes, give us some hearts, give us some likes, give us some hearts. Black Diamond is an international speaker, a social worker, a parent life coach, and award-winning author. Black Diamond has been working with children, their parents, and family for almost 40 years. With that, I ask that you give your full attention to Black Diamond and her guests, Monique Ellison and Amelia Starr, as they will be discussing temporary homes, a kid from a different family. Black Diamond.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction and for having us here to celebrate National Foster Care Month. This is one of my favorite months, along with the month of November, which is National Adoption Month. So I thank you so much for having me on this show tonight and allowing me to have such wonderful guests.
Yes. You're so
Tonight, we are definitely talking about foster care. We're talking the entire month. We are celebrating foster care. We are talking about the placement of a child, which is normally arranged through the government or a social service agency. We are talking about the foster care system in which a child has been placed in a residential home. The child can be placed in a private home, which is also a state certified caregiver who will be taking care of the child. Sometimes that you will have a relative taking care of the child. So those are some of the different types of places that we discuss. We are talking about the stories of why people chose to be a foster parent. And my guest tonight is here to share their journey as foster parents. I'm talking with Amelia Starr, a mother, a nurse, an entrepreneur, and a published author. We are also talking with Miss Monique Ellison, who is also here to talk about her journey as a foster parent. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you for
We're glad to
having
be
us.
here.
You know, everyone has a story of why they chose to be a foster parent. And I think I've heard so many different types of stories. But with the two of you, your journey and your story is amazing. And I want to ask you, what inspired you to become a foster parent? Monique, what is your story on becoming a foster parent? What
Sure.
was your journey?
Well, I had a great childhood, and I knew growing up that I wanted to be a parent, and I wanted to be a parent and do it as well as my parents did. And I got caught up in school and career, and I got to be 40 years old, and I'm looking around, and I hadn't started a family, and but I have all the respect in the world for parents of all sorts, and I just I know myself well enough to know that I cannot parent anybody by myself. So knowing that I had a great childhood, I asked my parents if they would help me raise children, be foster parents, and that's when I met my wife. And it turns out that she wanted to be a parent as well. And so we made a deal. My wife and I bought a home with my parents, and we all went through the training together. Katrina and I are the certified parents, and my parents are a great, big, huge help. And the deal we made with ourselves, with each other, is that we will take care of a child for as long as they need us, and love them and do our best for them. And when it's time for them to return to their family, we do our best to be supportive in that process and support them along the way.
That is wonderful. So you have just proven that it does take a village, because you have your own village right there in your home.
We sure
And
do.
it is a
Yeah.
wonderful thing. Thank you
Yep.
so much. Miss Amelia, what is your inspiration of becoming a foster parent?
Well, mine's a little different. My mother was a foster child. And so that I would not be a foster child, her foster mother raised me so that I wouldn't be in the system. So therefore, I wanted to give back. So in the state of Pennsylvania, in the city of Harrisburg, I became the youngest foster parent at the age of 21. And my first
Wow.
foster child was 11 years old. She had a 3-year-old, and I was 21 with a 1-year-old. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to help.
Wow, that is so amazing. That is what it's about. A lot of people are giving back, and there's no better place to give back to, and that's becoming a foster parent. What are some of the emotional challenges that you faced with your foster child? And do you feel that you're supported by the agency or the organizations?
I did work for a wonderful agency. I had support from the beginning through the end. Some were placed with other homes, some were transitioned out and went on to independent living. My niche in foster care was teenage girls with babies. Hence, like I told you, my history was my mother having me, and she had me as a teenager. So that's who my heart bled for. And I do feel as though I had the support because mine weren't cute and cuddly. So we kind of worked together as a team to keep the family together because everybody wanted the baby, not so much the teenager.
Right. And there's just so many teenagers that's out there that are teen parents that's in foster care that definitely need that support. And thank you so much for wanting to do that for teens, because it's very hard and difficult for those once they reach past the age of 8 for most of them. And once they become teenagers, it becomes almost impossible to find a loving home for them or anybody that's willing to welcome them into their home. Monique, what are some of the challenges that you face with the foster child that you have, if any at all, and did you feel supported?
The big challenge for us is that having 4 adults, all with different ideas about parenting, all trying to do their best for whichever child is placed in our home. And it's kind of easy with babies because they'll stay where you put them mostly. But with the older kids, they have already experienced trauma, and their response to being around adults who will who all have different expectations. We as the adults in the house, we have to really work on making sure we have a shared set of expectations, so we're not running a kid around trying to please everybody with different thoughts about how things are going to go. So it has taken a lot of work for us to get on the same page. And even now, right now, we have a toddler in our house, and she kind of runs us. So getting settled in on how we're going to work as a team.
Because we all happens when you have a baby. The babies are usually the cutest little things, and they run everything that's in the house. How might separation, you mentioned trauma, how might separation from their primary family be related to these struggles? Now, the baby was a baby, and sometimes they can show signs of trauma, but how might older children that have come through your home displayed some of that trauma with you, and how did you deal with it?
It starts with having a hard time trusting. They want to be They want to be with the family that they know. So they're coming into the home of strangers, and trying to build that trust is the biggest challenge right off the bat. And then it's trying to figure out a system, because usually there's all kinds of services that those kids receive, and we're trying to manage mental health care, doctor's appointments, school. A lot of these kids have educational difficulties, so we're trying to coordinate with schools. And then there's the social workers. You mentioned social workers right at the introduction. You're a social worker yourself, and everybody's trying to look out for so many aspects of a child's life. And we just try to, sometimes I feel as a foster parent, like the keeper of the calendar in managing all those aspects of a child's life. But oftentimes there's just sadness, anger, just being disorganized, and then also trying to please everybody and not being able to please anybody at all.
Yeah, raising a child is not easy. It's definitely not easy, and raising somebody else's child can be a little bit different. Amelia, I saw you shaking your head over there. Now, you've mentioned teenage mothers. Now, I know that being a teenage mother is in itself can be a struggle. What are some of the things that you were able to see as this teenage came into your life and you was able to be there to support them in relation to any of the struggles? What did you see?
Wow. I just think, genetically, females, hormones, attitudes. And when you are placed into a strange home and you have no sense of quote unquote normalcy, it's very hard. And like Monique said, there's a sense of trying to gain trust with them because they've been through the ringer already. They've already been marked with that scarlet letter A. It's like their self-esteem is already many times gone and trying to rebuild it. So it's just trying to show them it's okay not to be okay. And, especially when you have another child in the home, he don't have to, she don't have to, but then they got Mary, Sue, Jack, and John coming to visit them 6 days a week, and they can't go spend the night, and, they can't do this and they can't. And so it's so hard to juggle, but it's so rewarding to see how things work together. And the support that I talked about and what I was amazed and helped me with my parenting, because I told you, I too was a new mother, biological mother, was the schedule and the structure. The mobile therapist, the behavioral therapist, they showed me how to parent my own child, that was different than the way that I was parented, because it's a new day and a new age. So I so much appreciate it. And I incorporated that so that the new normal was that we didn't all do therapy, of course, but we all went to maybe the park where, you had your therapy, but, we'd play. And where you were having your therapy, your child would play with my child or what have you. And we incorporated and made it community. And the one thing that I just love doing, and I believe that helped build the trust, I never did respite. I've never did respite, because that means that we're different and we need a break. We're going to go and do something nice and we'll come back to you because you're different. And so I love incorporating them and going on vacation and showing that we're all a family, and seeing, oh my goodness, this is the ocean, it's salty, just simple little things like that just is so much more than money can buy, and the experiences, it really does build that trust, and it really does make a difference.
It does. To be as normal as possible to work with these children is a key factor in there, to not make them feel separated from their families, and they already know that they're separated, but to be a part of your family. In Monique's case, you have grandparents in the home. And a lot of children nowadays are not even growing up with their parents, their grandparents. They don't know their grandparents at all. The grandparents are deceased or for some other reason. And to have that in the home is a wonderful thing. And to bring that into their life, to let them see that this is a traditional home. You know, I use that term loosely because there's not many traditional grandparents. We have grandparents
Right.
that are 30. We have
Mhm.
grandparents that are 35. I say traditional
Right.
grandparents, those are over 60. Those are what I
Mhm.
consider, and that's just me. That's just me talking. That those are the traditional grandparents. But a grandparent is a grandparent. They show that love and that care. You are taking these children, Amelia, and you're doing the things with those children that are coming into your home, the same as you would do with your own children. What do you see as your role in actively promoting the reunification between the children and their primary families?
It's so important. You know, I'm not a replacement. It's not my duty. You can't break that bond. It doesn't matter. Um, we all make mistakes. Who am I to judge? And I think one of the biggest mistakes that foster parents can have is that ego, you know, that pride, you know, I am taking care of you know, had it not been for the grace of God, the tables would be turned. So, you know, I think that we need to have a piece of humble pie and work with, because the children are always better with the family. If the family needs help, help them get help. If there's any way possible for that child to be safe and be reunited with the family, then let's do that. You know, it may take, you know, not overnight, it may take a couple months, years, but let's work on doing that. And so when you work as a team, the child wins. It's when you're working against each other that the child loses. And it's
I
all
like
about
that.
the child.
I like that when the way that you put that when you was mentioning how some foster parents figure I'm raising your child, I'm taking care of your child, like I'm doing what you could not do, and
Mhm.
that just sets a totally different tone and taste in the child's mouth because the children feel that. They
Mhm.
know that by you. Children know when you're phony and fake. They
Mhm.
know when you really have their best interests at heart. You can abuse a child left and right 24 hours a day, but they still want to be with their parents. No matter
Yes.
how it goes, they still want to be with their parents. But as the foster parent and the foster families, we have to understand that it is temporary. It's supposed to be, yes, the children may come in at 4 or 5 or whatever have you, and they may not leave until, unfortunately, some of them leave at an older age because there were situations and things that prevented the parent from being able to gain the custody back of their children, but you are still temporary. Unless you're saying and the child has been declared free for adoption and the parents' rights are terminated, you are still temporary. But you
Yeah.
don't give them temporary care in your home. You give them that full-time care in your home as if they are yours and you make them feel validated in your home. Monique, how do you feel about reunification between the children and their primary families? Now you have a baby.
Yeah.
So sometimes babies are the ones that will come one day and be going back the next day because they
Right.
families say, no, I'm going to take this baby because everybody wants those babies.
Of course. Yep. We've besides the baby we have in our house now, we had one other baby before, and that first baby, it was a whole lot clearer that he was going back with his family soon. If it wasn't going to be his mom, it was going to be his grandparents. And the way people always ask us when they find out that we're foster parents, they say, "How do you do it? You got to give the child back." Well, we do it every day. Is how we do it. We do what parents do every day, one day at a time, and we do it until they don't need us to anymore. So when the first baby went home, he my family and my wife's family and people at our jobs all treated this child like he was part of our family. So they had to bring an extra car to get all of his stuff,
That's wonderful.
and that all went with him because it was his stuff. And he's been back with his family for 3 years now, and they're doing great. And all he knows about us is that we're the people who come to his birthday party and get him something for Christmas and get him something for Easter. We stay in touch, and they chose to stay in touch with us. It doesn't always happen that way, but we do. We parent every day, and then we parent some more the next day. We don't. They spend a lot of time in foster parent training, letting us know that not every kid is going to stay in your house for months or years, and a lot of them aren't going to stay. Some become available for adoption, but most don't. And you take care of that child until it's time for them to move on, and love them like your own until then.
You mentioned the training. What would you say to other potential foster parents or individuals who want to take the same journey that you've taken on? Now, I know that training is involved in it, but what would you say to them as far as the preparation for your home, as far as your mindset? And some foster parents don't take it so well when they have to take their child and turn them back over to their parents.
Right.
What would you say to a potential foster parent?
I would say just be have in mind that you're supposed to be taking care of this child like they're your own, and also know that the state, there are institutions and organizations and bodies of government that are raising this child along with you, and just be prepared to think of it as teamwork.
Yes.
Amelia, what about you? What would you say to potential foster parents, somebody that could be a friend that's saying, I'm thinking about being a foster parent, and I understand that you have been fostering children. What would you say to someone? And I'm going to go a little bit above that for teens. How would you, and I don't want to say sell that, but how would you try to encourage individuals to become foster parents to teens?
You definitely have to be a team player. You do not have the final say. There is no alpha mom in foster parenting. There is no alpha dad in foster parenting. It is a team. So you definitely have to be a team player, or it's not going to work. Don't waste your time or their time. They deserve better. It takes not just a village, but a team. It is so important. These children come with baggage. They come with their own set of problems, and such as we discussed, traumas, and they need help that we don't even know of. Each one of their experiences are different, and it takes a team of experts to give them what they need to prepare them for the journey of life that they're going to have after us. So you have to be prepared for it. Teamwork.
I have a question for both of you. Your foster parents, would you consider adoption?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Monique?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, adoption, it is more of a permanent thing, for sure. It's not something you can say that I'm going to take it back and get my money back. You won't be able to do that,
Right.
because that's not what adoption is about. I've seen and I've heard several foster parents say that they don't want to be foster parents anymore, or they can't foster that child. Has there ever been a child that's come to your home that you had to turn away, or you had to call them to have them remove the child?
I haven't called, but I've had a couple leave. A couple leave. Like you said, teenage parenting is hard. I've had them leave and leave the baby there.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's hard, you know. But no, I've never had them. I've never called anybody and said get out. I've had to have lots of support and work through some things, but communication is key for everything. And they're already in a revolving door. So if I can just, pause and stop it just for the moment, I try my best to. And thank God, I haven't had to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. What about you, Monique?
We've
Now, I
just
know you mentioned babies. Is that all you've taken in so far? Was babies?
No, we've had 2 older kids, and those placements, we had to disrupt those 2 placements. It turns out that our niche is younger kids, little kids. With my 75 and 80-year-old parents in the house, and having a completely different mindset about childhood. My parents didn't have to deal with children who were traumatized and had experienced trauma in their lives, and neither had I. And I got very protective of my parents, and it made me not as effective a parent. So those placements, we disrupted those placements, and it was easy for me at first to feel like I had failed as a parent. And but using the resources you had asked, one of the first questions you asked was, how did you feel supported by the agency? Absolutely. They provided they provided good placements for the kids after us, and they provided therapists to provide some coaching for us as a family, and for me to recognize that there are some kids that I and we can handle, and some kids that we can't. So now we know better that I've gotten over I had a hero complex, that we're going to be able to help every kid. And it turns out that my household can't be the right household for every kid. So now we know what our niche is.
Right. Now we have a question that just came through about the training. What is the training like, and what's the classes like? The training in most states are 27 to 30 hours. It's not all in one day, and it's not today and tomorrow. You set that up with your local Department of Social Services, and they schedule that. So you will come either bi-weekly or weekly, depending on the way that they arrange things. And they get you prepared to do the training. They take you through a journey, because it is a journey. Even though I'm a social worker, I am also the parent of 12 children. And I had to go through the training as well. You have to go through the fingerprinting, the background checks of anybody in your house, I believe over the age of 16. They may have lowered it to 14, because 14-year-olds can get into some deep trouble as well. I'm not quite sure, but every state is different. And they help you prepare your home as well as your mind to make sure that this is what you want to do. They don't want anybody to feel as though I'm just giving back because this is the right thing to do and this is what I should be doing. This is what we want you to do if that's what you and your family is prepared to do. So they want to make sure that everything that you are about is about these kids as well. If you're about doing the right thing, we want to make sure that that right thing is with and for these children. So you would definitely have to contact your local Department of Social Services and speak with a social worker there, the foster care unit in the department, or whatever they may have called it in your state, and let them know that you're interested in becoming a foster parent. With over 420,000 children in the foster care system, many have been on a journey from birth to foster care to adoption. You too can help guide them on their way by providing them with a safe and loving home. You can contact your local state Department of Social Services that oversees the foster care system, or inquire about becoming a foster parent at the National Center for Children and Families. You can call or text them as well. Their numbers should be on their website. And if you're already a foster parent, you may want to join the National Foster Parent Association to inquire about becoming a member, because there's so many different types of support systems out there. In each state, they have support systems. You have people that's on Facebook. Their Facebook is being utilized by a lot of foster programs and memberships and foster families and parents that are getting on there and getting together and discussing some of the things that's going on in their lives and some of the hardships. You have a lot of them that is also talking about getting together. At this point in time, I also want to thank everybody, thank my guests, Amelia and Monique, for joining us. Please tune in again next week at 8:30 p.m. We will be discussing supporting teen mothers in foster care. We'll be doing the myths, the facts, and life after foster care. And our guests will be Miss Tania Green and Miss Aaliyah Vargas. They are our former teen foster parents who will be sitting and discussing their journey as teen parents through the foster care system. Again, Monique and Amelia, I thank you from the bottom of my heart of being a foster parent, for one, which is just something that I just keep grabbing hold to and just shaking myself and saying thank you. 2 more foster parents, and I count those numbers. I'm looking at the number that I mentioned earlier, 420. Just a year ago, it was 400,000. I guess because of this pandemic, we've gained more. We need foster parents such as Monique and Amelia to be in the lives of these children. If you're interested in becoming a foster parent, please, please, please contact your local Department of Social Services and inquire about how to become a foster parent or even an adoptive parent. Again, thank you so much for being a part of this show today. And don't forget to join us next week when our guests will be Miss Tania Green and Miss Aaliyah Vargas. Thank you so very much. Everybody have a great night and be safe.
Good night.
Good night.
You just need a little more time and you will get there. Let me